Hello and welcome back to the virtual sessions presented by the DJ Sessions. I'm your host, Darren, and right now I'm sitting in the virtual studios in Seattle, Washington, and feeling so calm and relaxed with that wonderful intro music that Restream decides to play for us with none other than Qiana Williams with
Yes, that's correct.
VPR and also Goddess Media coming in all the way, I want to say, from New York City. How you doing today, Qiana?
That's correct. And I'm doing great. How about you, Darren?
I'm great. It's just out here. I think I'd say we burn in the midnight oil, but since midnight happens three times, maybe we're burning the oil three times as fast now, or at
Maybe.
12 o'clock, I should say 12 o'clock happens three times a day. Some people don't understand there's a midnight, a 12, and a midnight for every
Mhm.
day. And
That's
it's
right.
just been busy and going crazy over here. But, you look like you are just as busy as we are over here with Goddess Media and what you're doing over there. Can you start off by telling our DJ Sessions audience a little bit about Goddess Media NYC?
Absolutely. So, Goddess Media began as a publicity firm. I used to work in fashion, and back in like 2009, when we had one of the first big recessions, all the banks were, getting bailouts and such. I was a fashion executive, and being high ranking, I was making pretty good money, but everyone that I knew were losing their jobs as well. So I found my way back to journalism, which was always a big passion of mine. And somehow doors started opening. I started being invited to fashion shows. Mind you, I worked in the industry for like 15 years and never was able to attend a fashion show. I was always doing all of the behind the scenes stuff. So doors started opening and I was like, okay, how can I monetize? So I started doing event planning and publicity. And then I eventually moved into going back to writing. So, even with publicity, a lot of that has to do with being a professional writer. If you can't write a proper press release, you're not a publicist. You need to be able to send out information for press junkets and speak on a very professional level. So my corporate training had rendered that for me, which I'm very, very thankful for. And I just carried it over into entrepreneurship and it's just been growing. So recently, actually just last week, I got certified by Google in data analytics with our programming. So that's the next phase as I do digital marketing as well for my clients. It's a big benefit to know how to make data driven decisions. So now, even as people come to me first, I say, well, first of all, who's your audience? Who's your market? All of the questions that I used to ask them, like, what are your goals? Now I can feed that even more, being able to really dive into their data on a deeper level than I was even doing before. So, yeah, you can come to me whether you need a press release or you need a bio if you're an artist, right? Or you need a media kit or you need to set up a press run or, anything to get you publicity or to actually build your brand, make you look professional, from trademarking to getting your LLC, all of that business stuff that a lot of people say. I'm not a business person, I'm a creator. I'm a creator as well, but I learned all of these things to be able to help us all get to the next level.
It's so amazing that, yes, most people don't understand that, but 20 years ago when I was in college, I was just about to finish up, I realized that everything I'd gone through, my marketing classes, economics, I mean, there wasn't social media at that time,
Right.
but knowing what I knew, I would go out and say I could do small business consulting and small business startups for people, saying, look, if you don't have these 7 things in place, I'm not going to consider you a business.
Right.
If you don't have a business license, if you don't have, a PO box, if you don't have a dedicated line, if you don't have an email address, if you don't have a website, if you
Hmm.
didn't have these kind of things in place to have your branding ready to go to market, you weren't a business, you were a hobbyist. And I
Hmm.
think that a lot of artists, I found at that time in college that there are artists and there are business, and the two do not talk well together very
Right.
often. And I found a way that I could bridge and be in between that. Now, I gravitated towards the business side of things because I wanted to be an executive producer and talking in the corporate world and talking to people and making those, handshake deals, of 6-figure, 7-figure deals is where I wanted to be. Making the content, well, that's where the money, I was going to go hire the people to help me make the content, but I could at least speak their language because I had also started out by making the content.
Right.
So I can totally understand um, the services that you provide, because I understood how valuable those services are to a brand. And a lot of people just don't understand how important a press release is, or how they'll say, oh, I have a social media account. Well, what are you doing with it?
Right.
And nowadays, I've been talking to a lot of influencer companies, about influencers and all that, and they don't even look at Facebook as being a platform anymore. They're like, nope, it's Insta, it's TikTok, it's Twitter,
That's right.
And TikTok's where it's at right now. So we're just bringing on, you mentioned a really great thing there, being a Google Analytics. What was the name of the course again that you finished?
Google Analytics with R programming. So I'm certified in data analysis.
Yeah, data analytics, and I'm now bringing on somebody to my team to start doing that with us. And understand, it takes a team to do this. Not one person should know all this stuff, and the artist and business owner should be focusing on artist and business. Let the data analytics people focus on the data analytics. Let the social media people focus on the social analytics. So that's really awesome. In addition to all this, though, you also do, sorry about that, I live on the last worst street corner of downtown Seattle, in the heart of the
New York City. So don't even worry. The fact that you haven't heard sirens yet, I'll try to mute it out, but I'm accustomed to this. When I do our show, I'm constantly on mute, and my train is right outside the window. So believe me, I don't even hear it.
I make a joke about it because literally, in where I live in Seattle would be the equivalent of living in Times Square.
Right.
A penthouse unit of Times. I'm living in the heart of downtown Seattle, in the shopping district, the tourist district. Everything goes right by my window. I'm Third and Pine, but I nicknamed it Third and Crime. And I have a website, thirdandcrime.org. It's kind of this thing. But anyways, I didn't know if you heard that siren or not. So I was like, hey, nothing's happening. It's all good.
It sounded like home.
Awesome. In addition to Goddess Media, you also do VPR Radio. Tell us a little bit about VPR Radio.
Right. So VPR Radio started after many, many years, actually, after I met DJ FMI. I used to do a live showcase with independent artists. So, music in the commercial realm has been declining, in my humble opinion, right? The values of music, the actual talent, the real raw talent of music has been on a sharp decline. But I think what a lot of people don't realize is there are, excuse me, a ton of musicians that are supremely talented. They just don't get that commercial play. And then there are also ones that are independent, that work with independent labels, that tour around the world, that are sponsored by businesses. But again, if it's not on the radio or if it's not streaming on Spotify, a lot of people don't necessarily know about it or know to go look for it. So I've always been part of working with the independent artists. And I used to do radio, but I was always working with other people. And unfortunately, the way that I vibe and the way, the things that I bring to the table, sometimes it can cause people to feel insecure or jealous or whatever those feelings are. I can't understand them. So I moved on to other ventures, but I realized that there was actually a demand for me to be on the radio or do live streaming. And I was like, well, I've got to find a great DJ. And DJ FMI, who's a A&R of Convict Music, immediately came to mind because he's always been a great vibe, always vying for the independent artists, supremely talented. He agreed, and we got together and we created VPR Radio, and we've just been doing it on our own terms. It's opened a lot of doors for us individually. He also has a company, RTM Entertainment. So, collectively we're VPR Radio, but we also have our individual ventures. He's never held a real job, if you will. So working as a DJ has been his forte since he was, a teenager. And I just love it because he's really talented. He's younger than I am. He's a male. So the different perspectives, and he's a Libra like myself, the different perspectives that we can bring to the table, I think is just really refreshing when compared to a lot of the talk shows that are going on. We really want to just put out positivity, spread knowledge, and help people that are working, whether in the music industry or trying to become an entrepreneur or whatever you want to do with your life. Live your dreams and go for it, because life is short. So we try our best not to focus on all of the negative stuff that's happening in the world, because it's a lot. but also remind you there's a lot of positive things going on as well, so that we can come in and refresh your day, and you can smile and go forward and smile at somebody and make them smile at somebody else and cause a trigger reaction, in a good way.
And how long have you been doing that show for?
4 years, 4.5 years now, actually. Yeah.
Because it looks like you're on season 7, right? Or season 8 right now. Excuse me.
Yep.
Season 8 right now. And how
we're actually on season 9, but I'm just publishing season 8. I'm behind because I was doing data, analysis studying for the last 7 months. So now I'm catching up. But yes.
No, I know how that goes, and getting backlogged and getting overwhelmed. Sometimes I might get a backlog. I try to produce episodes the day they come out and try to get them up almost within 24 hours. And I mean, I've been doing podcasting and live stream. Well, podcasting I've been doing for 17 years now. It seems almost like it was easier to do broadcast television than it was to do podcasting, because we could make an episode and it was on a tape, and we deliver that one tape to the station and it airs once a week. But we'd make the whole season in advance and be able to deliver the tapes to the station. They just play the tapes in order. And that's a definite way to do a podcast season as well. But once I got into live streaming, it was like, it's live. It's now. I mean, this is on Facebook. It's on Twitch. It's on YouTube. It's on Twitter. Live right now. When I hit stop, that show's in the can and it's done. Well, I do go back and do a little post-production on it to put the official version on our website and then share the official version via the socials. But I gravitated so much more towards a live kind of element because it kept me on my toes. If I was doing pre-recorded work, pre-recorded work is awesome, but I still don't edit my pre-recorded work. It's still kind of a live record. There you go.
We're very similar because we're also live on all of these platforms, and then I go back and actually publish it as a podcast. So we do video and then we do audio, and that's actually what made me jump into data analysis, because I was like, our data is all over the place and I got to really get this under control, because I know what I do for clients. So going into it further really made it expansive into how much I can learn and gather from our data. And I think it's brilliant that you go back and do it through your website. You mentioned earlier, how I think you said 17 years ago, when it came to marketing and branding, did you have these elements? The website has come back, and I'll tell you why. And this is why I told clients all the time, stop being so focused on your social media. Yes, that's a key element, but you can pay for ads, because the algorithms are constantly changing so that your reach is declining just naturally. It's nothing you did wrong. It doesn't matter. It's just declining because they want you to pay. So put some money on your advertising, keep it going, do what works, throw advertising on TikTok. Every single social media platform has advertising, but get those emails, get a newsletter going, get a blog going, and keep your website relevant, because that's where people will come and purchase merchandise. That's where people will come and purchase tickets for your concerts or purchase your product or your service. More than likely not through social media, because everyone all day long is just seeing ads. Aren't you sick of it?
The biggest thing I think that I've heard as well, and a friend of mine says this all the time, and I've told people about this, with what you just said there, I'm going to add on to that, is you control your website. You don't control Facebook. At any time, if you relied on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, whatever that brand is, and they decide to pull the plug and you were on that, bye-bye, gone. There's no getting it back. No, and I see so many people relying on that. Or what they'll do is they'll get a website and they'll just say, oh, this is my informational page. I have a website. This is what it is. And the content's not updated on it. The content's not changed on it. It's static. And Google does not like static websites.
You better talk about it. Snap. Yeah. We're going to talk about that SEO and whether you're
SEO, SEM.
Googleable. You know what I mean? If I don't Google you and see you on page 1, are you really relevant?
Exactly. And that's the biggest thing that I think people don't understand. And again, a lot of artists don't understand or don't have the time to go down that pathway of the bandwidth. And then when they go to talk to the other artists about it, that this is why it's so important, those other people are like, I don't want to know about that. I don't want to
talk to my manager.
Yeah. I mean, I constantly I had to revamp my entire social media I have to actually add in a new social media agreement with every DJ, resident DJ that's playing on our series, because the ante is getting up. The push that we're pushing, the hours, the money, the time, and everything we're putting in, saying, hey, you know what? You are going to take 10 minutes a week to do 5 posts. This is going to happen. If not, then you're not the DJ we're looking for. You're not the people we want to work with. And I set this up for them using tools. I love the automation tools that are out there. I used to use a tool. I used to use Hootsuite back in the day. Now I use a tool called Hello Wolfie, which is just phenomenal. I mean, what they're doing over there, and I'm not an affiliate. I'm not getting paid by them to say anything. But out of all the tools I've ever seen, Hello Wolfie is by far the most amazing tool, where I can have my team sign up, or I can sign them up as members. And when I make a post, it just notifies them on the app. They do a couple series of clicks and it's done. It's out to their socials, and they don't have to worry about content generation. They don't have to worry about writing the copy. They don't have to worry about any of that stuff. It's just like, hey, a post came through. Send.
Reshare.
I that when I say 10 minutes, that'd be 2 minutes per post. Really, it takes about 15 to 20 seconds.
Right.
And that's on a team collective effort. When you're working with 20 different people, that can echo huge in a social media realm. And so there's awesome tools out there to make this happen. Again, a lot of people taking the time to sit down and dial it all in, though, they might not have that. That's where your company comes in. And that's really awesome that you're providing that service. Now, are you primarily just working with clients on the East Coast? Is this nationwide? Is it worldwide? How do your service?
It's worldwide. I mean, I've worked with clients around the globe, Canada. I've even had clients in Bangladesh and China that came to me to rewrite their websites. And they provide, it's interesting because they provide content and content marketing, but their SEO wasn't up to par. So they came to me to rewrite pages and build that SEO.
Yeah, that's another crazy one. I'm working with my girlfriend right now. She's a personal trainer, and we're talking about developing her a website. And I've developed websites I started doing websites started with WordPress back in 2005. And then when I launched my advertising company, iAlternative Media, I was selling high ticket advertising items, mobile billboard trucks and floating billboards. But I would go to these small businesses and they literally would have no online presence, or they'd have no social media presence. And I said, well, and usually they wouldn't have $20,000 lying around to do a campaign for mobile billboard trucks. So I said, what do you have? Let's look at your online presence. And we created the term. I don't know if I came up with this. I thought I may have come up with this, but it's been used now probably, called WPO, or Web Presence Optimization. And coming in and looking at that and saying, what do you look like online? Is everything dialed in? Is your messaging across all platforms the same?
Right.
Did you, when you got your domain name for your website, did you go claim that Facebook page, that Twitter page, that Instagram page, that tweet, and it all is the same one?
That's right. That's one of the first thing that I tell people when they come in for a consultation and they just have a business idea and they're like, well, this is my company name. I don't have a logo, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, have you gotten your domain? And now I need you to go across the board. And then I also need you to check the trademark. Because as you get into business, that's going to be another important component where people can shut you down because they own the trademark and it coincides with the product or service that you're offering.
I had a very, very interesting situation back in 2018 where there was somebody else out there. They were a DJ and we were a show. Nothing ever happened until this one moment where I called because a business had listed the DJ sessions on their website. And somebody was looking up events online and they said, is this your event? And I said, no, we're not doing anything there. And I had somebody at the time that had taken one of my business models and they were pitching it off as their own. And they were going to try to it was like they were going to try to resell my services without my permission and made their own page. And I said, is that person doing that? It turned out not to be that person. But when I did the inquiry, when I inquired about it, you could say all hell went loose. Just because I was trying to find out, I think this may be a typo on your site. So to make sure there's no branding issues, that people don't think it's our company. Well, this person called me back up and we're like, they were nice at first, but they got really rude really quick. And I went, you don't talk to me like that.
Right.
But almost immediately I went to the state and trademarked my name for $50. And now, yeah, they can use it because it was previously in use, but anyone moving forward, and I've seen people try to use certain versions of it, and I'll hit them up and say, you can't use that. That's my trademark. I got it right here. I own it.
I've had to do it already. And we actually had another, they became known further down the line as VPR, but they're more like of a political, radio station, and they're in Vermont. And my thing at this point, because they actually lost their trademark, which is why I own it now, or we own it, I should say, myself and my partner. They lost their trademark in 2003. So that's another thing. You got to stay on top of, keeping your domains and stuff in order. But like you said, going forward, you won't allow anyone to use your name. And then I think also, just like you said, that web presence, when it comes to having the demographic that we have, we can take our web presence and build and build and build and build until all you see is Qiana the Goddess and DJ FMI for VPR Radio. So that's our tactical strategy at this point.
Exactly. And that's you mentioned tactical strategy, or that's forward think. That's 5-year, 10-year, 15, 25-year thinking. Even if you were to sell the company, sell it to somebody, that's going to be in your package that says, we've had this locked in. This is our brand. This is what the goodwill is worth on this name, or what the value of this is worth. And we have this all locked into place. And again, so many people don't know that. They don't know to research online. Sometimes I'm researching on DJs to look them up at the show, and I find a DJ and there's 15 other DJs with the same DJ name.
Oh yes.
And it's like, okay, did you check that out? Now, it may be a local hometown DJ and there might be a huge DJ. But I would say once you start getting $1, well, even before you get that first dollar, check it out and then trademark it, and get that logo. And maybe if you want to take it, copyright it. If you want to put it out there and copyright it and get your logo copywritten. So people out there using it, you're like, you don't have the rights to use that. Because that to me is when it becomes serious entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
You're really taking it to that level. And if I had the time, I'd do so much more business consulting or business coaching. But I've always said that 98% of the knowledge, or I used to say before 2020, I used to say 98% of my business knowledge that I have, I'd be more than willing to help somebody out with or consult them for free. If they really want business consulting and have me sit down with them, that's going to be like $2,500 to $5,000, to have me sit them down and go, okay. And even then, they're still going to be doing a lot of the work because they have to know what's going into their business plan. You can't. I remember the first business plan book that I bought, and I think on the inside of the cover it said, in a nutshell, a paraphrase, please do not copy our business plan. Right. That is not the way you want to write a business plan. You need to write a business plan in your own words, in your own terms, because, and this happened to me once, somebody said, oh, so where's your P&L statements? I'm like, P&L statements, why do I need those? They're like, we're not giving you money because you're a business. Where are your P&L projections? And it took me a while. It took me about a year before I realized that I needed to go to school. And I went to school to get a business degree. And then I finally saw, I went, oh, that makes sense. Now I can present to venture capital companies. I can speak well. And I have a 37-page business report with low, medium, and high figure projections for the next 5 years. Exactly. And all those documents in place. And the doors hadn't even really opened on the company yet.
Right.
Of knowing that.
That's the way to do it. I mean, that's definitely the way to do it. And it's the smart way to attack things from, okay, what do I need versus let me just jump in, For my business, I jumped in, but it was more of like, well, the job market is slow and you're kind of getting pulled into this. So it was definitely a learn on your feet. But like you said, I had to go back to school. I mean, I was communicating with overseas and doing quality control and flammability testing and textiles and garments. This had nothing to do with running my own business. No. I had to learn the same thing. P&L, income statements, the whole bit. And when it comes to the financial portion of my business, operations, sales, marketing, all of that, I got it. That financial portion was definitely like my nemesis. So I actually went through this program through Goldman Sachs. It's called 10,000 Women. Wonderful program, very, very supportive network. So for any women that are pursuing businesses, I would highly, highly suggest that you go and do it. I think it's actually free now on Coursera. Or if you do the paid one, you can get the actual certification, but it's a great program. They even teach you your leadership style. So it's wonderful.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've been about small business the moment I went to school. I mean, I've always been an entrepreneur, always been a go-getter in my life. And, one of the guys I love so much is Gary Vee. I mean, it's just like, I became a huge Gary Vee fan way back in the day. I don't like follow every word he says. I don't watch every show of his, but I remember just seeing a couple things of him online years ago and was like, I got it. I got exactly what he's saying, exactly what you need to say. I think one of the things he said is, don't come up and ask me for a handshake. You're wasting your time. Go be focusing on business, go do something, because if you're sitting here wondering if I'm going to shake your hand and you just want to shake my hand, that shouldn't be your business goal. And I'm not getting,
there's nothing in that transaction.
Nothing in that transaction. I'm not going to, I met Gary Vee. Well, great for you. Wow. I got a picture with, I've always said Gary Vee is going to want to meet Darren B. That's the way I look at it. If I'm doing good, he might seek me out and go, hey, you're Darren B. The guy who does, hey, cool, thanks.
And that's using the law of attraction at your feet. You know what I'm saying? So it's really about that. I think even when it comes to like competitors, I think, we can all suffer from like worrying about what our competitors are doing. I'm more worried about what they're doing right and then what they're not doing, because then I can fill that void. But I never worry about what the competitor is doing, because every single market is expansive. There's money that flows, it's currency. It flows around the world for everyone, right? And at the end of the day, my take on a topic, a business, a product, a service is not going to mirror your take if I'm doing it from my own perspective. Even if there are some similarities, like even learning data analysis, they were saying how two analysts can sit and get completely different projections based on their perception. And that's why it's important to remove bias. And I think that is so essential. Like, don't worry about what other people are doing. Focus on you and let them come to you. That's the person you want to be like. Great. Use them as a guideline and say, I'm going to keep working till I get that. And then don't be surprised when they come back seeking you out, like you just said.
I think one of the most key things you said there right in the beginning of that was, don't worry about the competition. Because I myself, when I was doing my live streaming show, I was kind of like, people were like, oh, he's the guy who does the live streaming show. And then 2020 hit and everyone's doing a live streaming show and everyone's jumping into podcasts. And I sat back and I went, this is funny. Okay, Same. Cool. And my phone started ringing off the hook. Like, how do I do this? And how do I do that? And how do I do this? I'm like, that's why I went down from 98% to 97%. Realizing, wait, am I giving my competition free advice now? Because you're not one to work with me. You could pick up the phone and say, let's collaborate and work together. I'll do this, you do that. Mm-hmm. And then I'd help. But then it's like, I'm giving you all this information. You're running out to go do your own thing. And you're taking advantage of my 28 years of knowledge in this business.
That's right.
No, I had one person that came to me, asked me for advice. He said, hey, what's your Venmo? Good friend of mine, longtime friend, and said, what's your Venmo? And I said, nah, man, you're cool. He goes, nah. What's your Venmo? I'm sending you some money. You just consulted me. Here's some cash.
That's what I'm saying. That's a real friend.
Exactly. That was really awesome of him to do that, and very respectful. And but I do have that issue where I sometimes sit back and go, gosh, they're making some ranks. They're blowing up, but I realize I'm putting myself into some shoes that I'm not even in anymore. And with everything I'm going with my brand and everything, but somehow it troubles me. And, my dad had told me once, he goes, you're like way up here and they're starting here. Why are you even thinking about that? And what you said is their mindset may be going this way when mine's going this way, but it may seem similar, but we're actually going in two different directions. And that's something that's really weird. And I see that a lot. And one of the reasons I started the show is wanting to work with DJs and promoters. And I always looked at it was like gang warfare out there in the nightclub world, because this promoter was throwing a show and this promoter was throwing a show, and you're stealing my audience and you're stealing my audience. I go, There's 100,000 people that go out at night in Seattle.
Right.
You're trying to get 100 people in your room and 100 people in your room. What's the problem? There's enough to go around for all of you, but you're going to hate on each other for that. And so the idea, the concept of the DJ session was to bring these DJs and promoters together, have a beer, break some bread, be on a live stream, kind of go, you aren't such a bad person. Why don't we collaborate together and try to spread the peace? That idea didn't work out too long, because then I ended up becoming a promoter and a live music player. And then they started hating on me.
Yeah, of course.
So I started becoming the competition, because they started seeing me rise. And I'm like, but I'm supposed to be working with you. Now you don't want to work with me. Just because you don't work with me doesn't mean I'm not going to stop my dreams from happening.
That's right.
And now you're going to hate on me because my dreams are going further than what you, hey, c'est la vie, but it's just interesting and how that happens. But now I'm moving on to bigger, better things. And, if you could give an entrepreneur, if there was one, let me put it this way, a young entrepreneur starting out in business, if you could give them a suggestion of one book to read, what book would that be?
The 48 Laws of Power.
48 Laws of Power. I am not familiar with 48.
I think I have it right here, actually.
Laws of Power. Here we go. Author Robert Greene. Okay. I should know this 48 Laws of Power.
Yes, sir.
There's some I have my top 10, but okay.
So the reason I suggest that book,
yes, and why,
is because in business everything is a power play, right? And whether you're a woman or a man, when you're talking about sales, marketing, talking to clients, even, doing an elevator pitch to potential investors, whatever it is, you need to learn how to speak with authority, and you need to learn how to get people to want to give you things and to engage with you. So it's a good book about really owning your power, utilizing the law of attraction. I mean, I'm a big, not just believer, but I utilize the law of attraction. It's powerful if you don't understand that. So that's another one, like The Secret. Anything that really resonates with helping you to build your own personal and interpersonal skills. I think that that's important first. I think, there's even business owners that are like, well, I want to start a business, but I'm really shy. Well, you're going to have to get over that. Okay. Because unless you're going to actually have a representative that's going to be the CEO or president or whatever that goes in and represents, you're going to need someone to network. You're going to need someone to go and make those deals, make those phone calls, do these video chats, do interviews, et cetera, et cetera. So you have to build your own inner strength. You have to learn how to be able to take a no without crying or feeling like you took it on the chin. You have to learn that, sometimes the competitor will win, or, business can be very dirty, and just learn how to take those things and go with the flow of it and use it to become a master at being an entrepreneur. So yeah, I would say any of those. This is a key one for me, but any book that really helps you build your core interpersonal skills and your spiritual skills.
I definitely need to go through this because I'm going through Law 1, Law 2, and Law 3 and going, yep, it's almost funny why I went back to college a few years ago and redid a whole nother degree program, was just to get that entrepreneurial focus in my mindset. And that right there, just reading Law 1, Law 2, I'm like, oh gosh, I need to manifest destiny. I need that board on my wall that I wake up every morning in my mirror. That is a great suggestion. Thank you.
You're welcome.
One of my top favorites is I have one. It's called Games People Play, but it's not necessarily about business, but it's definitely an older book out there. But Think and Grow Rich as one of my top ones. Good to Great is actually one of my motivators.
I haven't read that, but I've heard a lot of great things about that book.
It's really interesting, that how they did this study of all these companies and then took the similarities that they all did these kind of similar things and went literally from, they weren't even leaders. The companies that made it great were actually like second tier or third tier. So what did you do to dominate the industry? And they found these common things that these companies did to make that happen. It was just really awesome. If there was one piece of advice you could give to an entrepreneur that's starting out, what would that be?
Study first. Learn, and also know that you'll never stop learning. Every industry is interchangeable, right? We learned a lot, like you said, during 2020, during COVID. We all, I think, as entrepreneurs had to pivot. I mean, personally, I was already working at home, but we did do our show in studio, so we had to pivot to start doing, live streaming online, right, into some tech issues, especially with so many people streaming. So do your research. Whatever space you want to enter, find out how much that industry is worth, find out what's missing, think about who your competitors are. And the way that I approach it is always, great, what are they doing right? What are they doing wrong? What aren't they doing at all? So that would be my suggestion. Research the hell out of what you want to do.
I am constantly in a learning mode pattern. I was just talking with somebody in the interview earlier today that, they produce music, and how often they produce music and what happens when they hit a roadblock. And they say sometimes they'll go get a glass of water, come back and just delete the song. Mm-hmm. Or sometimes they'll let it sit there and then come back a month later and finish it. And then it's like, oh, wow, this is ready to go. Right. And I was relating to that, in the sense of, we just published on Roku today, and we're publishing to Fire and Amazon, Google Play and Apple TV. And that all happened within the last 2 weeks. Yeah. But I had plans like almost 2 or 3 years ago to publish to Roku, and it just got so frustrating that I just stopped it. Mm-hmm. But the other day I woke up and said, you know what? It's time to do it again. Let's do it. Let's go. Right. Yep. And I found the right developer, the right person. We synergized and said, boom. And within about a week and a half, 2 weeks, we just got our approval on Roku today, and we can live stream on Roku. So this is actually wonderful. Streaming live on our Roku app right now.
Hey.
Yeah, we're really excited for that.
So am I your first live stream on Roku?
One of the first. Today was the first actual official channel. Okay. It was on our test channel yesterday. Up until yesterday, it was all test and beta. Today, the Roku channel got approved. Actually, no, we got the approval after. You are the first Roku live streamer today.
Hey, that's what I like, exclusives.
Yeah. So, just a lot of stuff going on. But what you said about learning, and even us, I've always been a person to adapt new technology. Going from public access to broadcast television, and then going into podcasting, 2005, and then live streaming, and now we're looking at getting into virtual reality. We have 2 virtual reality nightclubs, and I see that as being the next website, or at least the next component that you should be adding onto your brand. Yes. At least having something there that people can go into. And if you're just going to start out with it, if your website's a basic website and it has 5 pages, home, about, services, blog, contact, duplicate that in a virtual reality land and say, oh, and then add, see us in VR too.
That's it.
And then maybe even schedule meetups in VR. Say, hey, you got an Oculus, or hey, you want to jump in VR and check out our 3D world, or you want to go on a little journey with me for an hour and walk around with me to different virtual reality lands while we network and have some cool. That's going to be the cool. It's because I don't have to fly to New York to get in a bar with you. We can go check out a nightclub in VR and be like, yo, this music's good. Let's go over here and sit down at this table. We can chat while music's going on. And then, hey, you want to go to this really cool place? And you follow me, and then you go follow you, and like, this is awesome. And we can still be having an engaging conversation while being together, but not together.
Right, right.
But yeah, we're really following what's going on with VR and AR in a huge way.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and even further on that, Web 3.0 involves all of that. So machine learning, data, AI, all of these are going to be important components, and you've got to be ready to go to that next wave of technology. We're growing, things are growing. You got to keep up with it. So definitely be prepared to never stop learning. I mean, doctors don't become doctors and then 20 years later, they're practicing what they learned, right? They're constantly going to different live conferences, meeting with different, you've got to keep educating yourself. Things are changing, and embrace it. And I think it's the most beautiful component of life, to be honest with you.
Hmm. Absolutely. And tell our DJ Sessions viewers, our audience, a little bit about MeCon. What is
Ah,
MeCon all about?
so MeCon is the Music Entrepreneur Conference. I'm so happy that you asked about that because they are so catering toward music entrepreneurs, anyone in the music space, whether you are a producer, a manager, artist, whatever kind of creator, to help you build all of these things that we've been discussing tonight, from your website to your audience, super fan. They've got this whole amazing team, which I'm so humbled and honored to be a part of. I actually met Rachel from Mecon when I appeared as a panelist last year, and I didn't even realize how incredible this conference was. Now, I constantly attend webinars, and especially during COVID, I go to a lot of live stuff, but during COVID, there were a lot of online streams. And I would say the best one I had witnessed so far was Amex, and then Mecon was right behind that. The way that they ran that virtual conference was impeccable. There were a lot of great moments where it's like you had to be there, and then the level of the content, the people that they had speaking, the gems that they were dropping, I was like, how is this free? This is incredible. And I was sick, so my expectation initially was supposed to be like, I was supposed to be out one day, but I wanted to record whenever the panel was going to be up. But I wound up watching all. It was 2 days, but it would wound up being 3 because there was a high demand. And then they called me in, me and my partner DJ FMI, to be a part of it this year, which was just such an honor. And we streamed live from Microsoft Garage, which was another honor. Amazing, very impactful conference for anyone that wants to be in the creative space. Quite frankly, they will teach you so much, and there's different boot camps and panels and just things that you can learn to increase your visibility, to increase your viewership, and to increase your audience. So Mecon is great. Shout out to Mecon. Shout out to Jalen and Rachel. They are incredible.
Awesome. Qiana, is there anything else you want to let our DJ Sessions fans know about before we let you get back to, let's see, it's what, 8 o'clock out there?
It is. Well, I just want to say I appreciate you guys for having me on. Thank you so much for reaching out. We can't wait to have you on VPR Radio so we can talk about you. And if anyone wants to watch VPR Radio, we're live streaming every single week, Thursday from 11 a.m. Eastern to 12 p.m. Eastern. And you can go to www.vprradio.org. Thank you for that, to live stream it. And then we're also, of course, on all social media platforms, VPR_radio. And you can contact me, Qiana the Goddess, at vprradio.org.
And then your other company, Goddess Media NYC,
Yes.
that is also, we're going to drop that link for you out there as well. If you're looking for services, you're looking for consulting, you're looking for press releases, you're looking for SEO, you're looking, God, there's a whole range of stuff that I should know all this by heart.
Yeah, even if you need like last year or in last October, I had someone come in and purchase a bunch of blogs. So I gave them a blog package or newsletter package, anything you need to help build your brand and build your presence online, or even in a live event. If you're in the tri-state area of New York, you can visit that website, and then Qiana at goddessmedianyc.com.
Awesome. Qiana, well, thank you so much for coming on the DJ Sessions Presents the Virtual Sessions. We'll be in contact. I definitely know we're going to talk a lot more. I'd like to follow up with you and your business partner as well, get you on the show, come back, touch base with you, see what's going on. Oh, by the way, is Mecon, I assume it's going to be happening this year as well?
It will in December. Okay. So I will definitely
okay.
keep you posted on that. They'll be on our page. I mean, we always have amazing sponsors, and it probably will be live this year. So I'll keep you posted on that.
Awesome. Thank you, Qiana.
Thank you for having me. Have a great night, you guys.
You as well. And on that note, don't forget to go to our website, thedjsessions.com. Find us on TikTok, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, everywhere out there. But the best way to do that is just to go to our website, thedjsessions.com, and look for us on Roku, Amazon Fire, Google Play, Apple TV, coming to you live from everywhere. The DJ Sessions presents the Virtual Sessions. I'm your host, Darren, coming to you live from the virtual studios in Seattle, Washington, and Qiana coming in all the way from NYC. That's New York City, for those of you who don't know. And don't forget, on the DJ Sessions, you know what always happens? The music never stops.